a big part of the budget dun sa unappropriated funds. So if you can have some technical discussion, Justice, if you think at least we're moving in the right direction, that would be much more appreciated. Thank you very much. Okay, we're live now on appropriate. Okay, we're live. All right, we can get the ball rolling. All right, welcome everyone. Dito sa latest episode ng Deep Dive. Kasama po natin si retired Justice, former Associate Justice Anthony Carpio. Thank you very much. Happy New Year, Justice. Thank you for joining us.
Happy New Year, Richard, and Happy New Year to our viewers.
Speaking of Happy New Year, Justice, there are a couple of things we want to talk about. Siguro maybe later on na lang yung international law implications of the situation unfolding in Venezuela. There's still a very big debate about should be worried that China will do the same to Taiwan or Russia will move against Zelensky, abduct Zelensky, etc. But before we go there, balikan muna natin itong problema. Ang dami natin problema sa sarili natin bansa. Justice, so just recently, mukhang the government, particularly the Department of Finance, is trying to wiggle its way out dun sa movement of funds regarding of course, the PhilHealth funds, even after the Supreme Court ruling making it clear na mali yung ginawa nila. But it looks like, Justice, we still need more specificity here. No, are we going to see a follow-up motion for reconsideration, or do we need another Supreme Court ruling on this matter to settle it for good?
Yeah, well, the PhilHealth case is very clear that the DOF Secretary has no authority to transfer funds of GOCCs to the National Treasury. It cannot be authorized because that's against the Constitution. And that should apply to all GOCCs. Pero ang sabi kanina ni Secretary Frederick Go, the decision of the Supreme Court only referred to the PhilHealth. Well, of course, because only the PhilHealth was a petitioner, and we filed that on behalf of PhilHealth members. But the PDIC wasn't a party, and sabi niya, hindi naman party ang PDIC, so we're not ordered to return the money of PDIC. Well, if the position is that we have to get another ruling, we will do that. We will file another petition with the Supreme Court. But it will just delay everything. Wala naman silang panalo because it was a unanimous Supreme Court decision. And the very issue is the same, whether the DOF Secretary has authority to transfer funds of GOCC to fund the unprogrammed appropriations. And klaro naman na hindi pwede. That particular authority was declared unconstitutional, the delegation in the General Appropriations Act, no? So that applies to all transfers. Kaya lang, we only filed on behalf of PhilHealth. Because sabi namin, yung PDIC naman, ang mga bangko naman, they have their own lawyers, they have well-paid lawyers. Why will we file the petition on behalf of the banks? But ang sabi ng kanina, we have to get a new ruling, no? So, okay, we'll go through this process. Pinapahirapan nila kami, but the outcome will be the same because the Supreme Court will not change its mind. Unanimous naman yung decision, no? And the issue is exactly the same, whether the DOF Secretary can be authorized by law to transfer the funds. And hindi pwede. So many reasons why under the Constitution hindi pwede. So, okay, we will file on behalf of the bank depositors all over the country. Pag ayaw nila isauli, pahirapan kami. So, we'll just have to do that, no?
But why are they doing this, Justice? I mean, obviously, we have new Department of Finance Secretary, the former economic czar, Frederick Go, with the former DOF Secretary, now, of course, being the Executive Secretary, replacing Bursa. I mean, is this just about the new secretary saying, okay, I need more clarification on this, or distancing himself from whatever happened under his predecessor? I mean, what is your read? Why would they ask na naman for more clarification here?
Well, I really don't know. No? Maybe they're not too well versed, but klaro naman that he was under advice because he was saying na hindi naman kasama yung PDIC sa dispositive portion ng ruling ng Supreme Court. Hindi nga because the banks did not file, no? And no depositors filed. But if they want an express ruling, papahirapan kami, but we will go through through that process. Mahirap nga, it will take time, but okay, we'll do it because we know that the decision of the Supreme Court will be the same. They are not going to change their mind.
You
Unanimous yung
seem
decision eh.
exasperated, Justice. So, what's the next move here, and what's your expectation in terms of
Well,
do you expect the Supreme Court to come back quickly on this to
yeah, I think
clarify?
it will be decided promptly by the court dahil that has been fully litigated na, discussed na yan, and it will be quite fast. There will be no oral arguments. I don't think there will be oral arguments anymore, no? That will be quite fast. So, okay, they want to uh, make it difficult for the depositors, for everybody, for us. Sige, maghirap kami, but we will do our best to bring this to the Supreme Court.
Now, Justice, moving forward, of course, there was a cabinet reshuffle as of since last time tayo nag-uusap, iba na yung budget secretary, natanggal na yung executive secretary, iba na rin yung Department of Finance secretary. So once again, another cabinet reshuffle. What is your read of efforts by the Marcos administration to at the very least signal that they're willing to move in the right direction? I mean, to be fair to the president, mukhang marami siyang mga unprogrammed funds na na-slash sa latest budget. There was a degree of transparency, at least na televised yung part of the BICAM, although I'm sure Senator Gatchalian has his own version also to explain things, hindi siya dinala ng isang time. But nevertheless, also, the government missed its self-imposed deadline of delivering big fishes, however you want to put it, by the end of the year, tapos ng 2025. ICI, more or less, is what, defunct na. So what is the score, Justice, in terms of the transparency improvement measures na in-expect natin last year? What is this, a glass half empty, half full? I mean, what is your read on this?
Well, there is an improvement because the president vetoed a large chunk of the program appropriations. Ang naiwan na lang yung uh, the fund for the AFP modernization and the foreign assisted projects. That's okay. We don't have any problem with the AFP modernization or the foreign assisted project. Pero ang problema yung yung support to local governments, mga ganyan, which is really a pork barrel, no? So, okay, maganda yon na tanggal yon. And but still the MAEC andiyan pa rin, hindi naman tinanggal. So we will just have to see how it is implemented. If they will still require guarantee letters, we will question that, no? Dapat wala na yung guarantee letters. Dapat DOH should remove the requirement of guarantee letters already.
I see. So dun sa budget ngayon, Justice, of course, there were some also DPWH funds, right, that were retransferred to PhilHealth, if I'm not mistaken, or at least Secretary Dizon said he's open to that. I mean, putting aside yung issue kanina about the misdeeds or mistakes of the former Department of Finance Secretary on the PhilHealth issue, saan tayo ngayon when it comes to the status of PhilHealth funds? Kasi
Well,
this
the
is a very
PhilHealth
important issue
funds,
for our people.
well, the present budget, 2026 budget, restored the 60 billion that was taken last 2024, binalik, no? So, well, tayo rin nagbabayad niyan because it's taken from the budget. But andyan na yan, so we'll just have to accept that. But there are still sin taxes that have not been remitted to the PhilHealth. Malaki pa yon. So we will look into that. For several years, they have not fully remitted the share of PhilHealth from the sin taxes. Malaki yon. So we're working on that, and we will come out with a demand that the DBM and the DOF should remit these amounts already to PhilHealth, no? And also
Ano yung
yung
excuse
share
nila,
ng
Justice? Ano yung reason
share ng
nila?
PhilHealth sa PAGCOR at saka sa PCSO, hindi rin. May mga kulang pa. So we will demand that also, but we are working on that.
Ano yung binigyan nilang justification or reasoning na hindi nangyari itong mga transfers na yan, fiscal transfers na yan?
Wala, hindi lang nila binigay. And PhilHealth, of course, being under the office of president, did not complain. So it will take for the members of PhilHealth, tayo, to complain and to press for it. So that's what we're doing. Because gobyerno sila they will not complain kasi they presume that's with the approval of the president, no? So we will have to be vigilant here. Otherwise, they will not remit what belongs to PhilHealth.
I mean, don't tell, don't ask policy. Don't ask, don't tell policy ba? That's a weird situation. Parang,
Yeah, we really have to press because if we're not vigilant, ganyan lang. I mean, they will allow the funds of PhilHealth to be used for flood control projects, no? They will raid the funds of PDIC, which are trust funds belonging to depositors. So we just have to be vigilant about this.
before I go to the issue of ombudsman of the, gusto ko balikan lang itong issue ng budget, justice. Last year pinag-usapan natin yung mga ating mga hypothesis, bakit lumobo itong corruption issue, bakit lumala itong issue ng corruption. And inevitably there was also discussion of flood control in this kayas. Ano bang mga safeguards na dapat ilagay natin sa bagong budget para siguraduhin natin na walang kalokohan na mangyari? Because ang debate kasi dito, Justice, some people are saying baka kailangan natin ng bottom-up participatory budgeting. Some people are saying, no, 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 the problem is the opposite. Bawasan mo yung prerogative ng mga congressmen, legislators, really leave it to the experts, technocrats, engineers, LGUs, and national governments and NEP to figure it out. And then there's another school of thought is saying, no, no, somewhere in the middle, there should still be room for insertions, etc. Dahil representatives have a better understanding of the needs on the ground, which the national government may miss. And then there's another school of thought saying, I was just with Sonny Trillanes kanina, he's saying na from his own experience, ang problema is the real corruption happens in the actual implementation, not what's there on the paper during the budget. So, Justice, what is your theory of the case here, and what are the safeguards na kailangan natin aside from bawasan itong mga unappropriated funds, which of course were one of the fountains for corruption and anomalies?
Well, first of all, the public will have to be vigilant, no, in the uh, preparation of the budget and in the deliberations in Congress. Uh, we should see to it that uh, funds like and program appropriations for flood control projects should not be inserted. Dapat bantayan yan. And pork barrel items like maik, mga ayuda, we should try to cut it down really and give this to DSWD or to PhilHealth. No? It should not be these guarantee letters. We should guard against that. We should press DOH not to require that because people will continue to go to the legislators to get these guarantee letters and they will be indebted to the legislators. So we just have to be very vigilant about this. No? And second, uh, uh, we have to insist that the civil society should be a member of the bidding and awards committee. Kasi nakita mo naman yun sa testimony nila Bryce Hernandez and sila
Bernardo.
Henry Alcantara, sabi nila they rigged the bidding, no, because sila lang eh. So but if we have a representative there from civil society, they just cannot rig it, no. So we need somebody there to be a member, and that committee should not award anything without the signature of the civil society member. No, tinatakot nila yung civil society member, but we should get civil society members who are not afraid, no, to be members of that committee. That's the only way. The public must be vigilant. Otherwise, lulutuin lang nila, no. So we have to be there at the Bids and Awards Committee. And tama yon in the budget process sa BICAM, it should be televised. I mean, open to the public. Wala na yung secret BICAM, and everything should be made public, no. So we just have to be vigilant about this, no? So kulang pa tayo doon sa Bids and Awards Committee. Mandatory dapat yung presence ng civil society, no? Para because pag ayaw pumirma, walang pirma ng civil society, paano nila papalusutin, no?
Right, exactly. So I was wondering, Justice, what about yung so in terms of civil society, sino yung mga parang Public Accountants Association? How do you determine that? Ano naman mekanismo? Baka naman mamaya sumali din sa rigging yung mga civil society organization representatives.
Well,
Who are the ideal people to be represented there from the civil society?
well, the ano, the IBP, the uh, certified CPA associations can make the recommendations, no, to be chosen by these associations, no. They should be the one to be present there, no. So that's the only way, because if this bidding and awards committee, if their work is done in secret, walang mangyari. It has to be, we have to be present there.
Televised, live, something like that also?
Well, hindi naman kailangan, as long as the civil society member has to sign, has to be present during the proceedings, no? And it should be all the documents should be uploaded in the website para
For
makita
transfer.
ng lahat, no? The bids should all be once the bidding is closed, the documents should be revealed to the public, no?
Or maybe it's also some recording at least, or I don't know, just backup, maybe not live, pero I don't know, baka maging
Yeah.
conscious sila or something like that. I mean, I'm thinking like, what are the best ways in terms of transparency
Well,
improvement?
the documents should be made public so that at least the public can look at the bids na kung halata naman talaga nakalokohan, no? And it should be in the website so that we will know that, uy, all the bidders are controlled by one party, one family. Katulad yung ginagawa nila. Actually, all the bidders are mga company ni Diskaya, no? Sila lang nagbibid. So it should be the bidders should be named publicly in the website so the people can monitor, and their bids should be made public, no?
Justice, in terms of technical capacity improvement ng COA, what about COA? Because COA in theory should play a very important role. Pero parang accountant lang daw sila. I mean, they don't have people who really go on the ground to check whether these projects correspond to reality or baka minambo-jumbo lang yung numbers and all.
Well, they're complaining that they don't have engineers, but they should have. I mean, they should have technical people, because how can they review if they don't have technical people to do the review? That's their function, no?
So, kasama rin yan. And then, lastly, is there something na dapat pagbawalan? Di ba yung slicing ng line item yung mga projects, yung mga ganun, yung is issue rin natin yun, di ba? I mean,
Yeah, yung mga chop nila, that can be, that's why it has to be made public para we can comment, no? We can know, we can connect na, uy, bakit hinati? Tsaka, and also, on the requirement of, I've been mentioning this before, on the bond. Alam mo, yung mga kontratista, they have to submit a performance bond. But they're submitting performance bond from insurance companies that later on, pag turns out to be a ghost project or a substandard, they disown the bond. Sabi nila, hindi authorized yung tao pumirma. So that's why we should require GSIS na lang mag-issue. GSIS will issue the bond, and of course GSIS will require hard collateral. Bahay ninyo, isang lan ninyo. And the moment there are ghost projects, tanga yung kanilang mga real estate properties, no? We cannot allow these insurance companies, private insurance companies, to disown their bonds, no? Nasabihin nila fake yun, mga documents na yan, no? Kasi yung ganyan nangyayari sa mga flood control na ghost projects, Sasabihin, fake yung mga documents. But if it's GSIS, wala silang masabi because GSIS will require hard collateral. Pag hindi nila ginawa yun, tanga yung kanilang bahay.
They have to have skin in the game. Dapat skin talaga. Bawal
There
lang
has to be, yeah.
kalokohan kasi you have skin in the game. Yeah.
In other words, hindi na pwede nila, they cannot just run away.
Justice, let's move to the ombudsman. I mean, there are lots of misinformation about whether the ombudsman is okay, he's alive, whatever. Of course, the Remulias have been denying all of these things, but clearly, the stakes are very high at this point in time. Is the ICI effectively defunct at this point? Kasi halos lumabas na lahat. Ang natira na lang yung nagsabi na all we need is love. So one-man team na lang siya. So this all goes back to the down to the ombudsman. What should we expect in the final list? Bakit tumagal? I mean, they weren't we expecting the big fish people to have been already indicted last year pa? Or that was always unrealistic and mas maganda na airtight na lang so sometime early this year dapat talaga expect natin yan. Or some are wondering baka naman may mga negosasyon at Mickey Mouse na nangyari behind the scenes.
Well, I think the ombudsman was too optimistic that they could get the warrants of arrest before during Christmas because in the preliminary investigation, pwede namang ma-delay konti yan eh. The other side, the respondents will have to be accused, will have to be given time to submit their affidavit, and being Christmas time, the uh, the Sandigan Bayan may not resolve all of those, will not issue right away the warrants of arrest. I was reading the papers today, yung pala, kakasubmit lang ng one of the accused yung counter affidavit nila. So, it was just too optimistic for them. The judiciary does not operate that fast. No? So, I think this January would be more realistic. No, that the all those will be, they will get the court, the Sandigan Bayan, to issue those warrants of arrest.
So, yun nga, so realistic, we're still within a realistic time frame. What was unrealistic was siguro baka under pressure rin dahil na-appointed siya ni BBM and then BBM was making all that noise about, delivering. Under pressure din kasing admin, di ba? So probably for optics reason, they wanted to diffuse tensions. But at least as far as the legal speed is concerned, you think we're still within the frame of reasonability?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was too optimistic to expect the warrants of arrest to come out last December. It should be maybe January or February.
And what do we read of at least one Diskaya put in detention or in detention right now? Hindi ba big fish yan? Or by big fish, we really mean the senators and the congressmen and all of that?
Well, this guy being the center of a lot of these flood scams. That's a the couple are part of the big fish now.
So, or baka big whale, that's different kind of species, Justice Carpio. Now, Justice, I know this is, we don't want to preempt the process, but base dun sa, I won't say circumstantial evidence, I think we're already past the circumstantial evidence. Who are we expecting in terms of at least yung high probability in terms of certainty of conviction for the ombudsman to move ahead dun sa flood control anomalies? And then, of course, there's the other also question of whether the ombudsman could help trigger a new round of impeachment against Sara Duterte based on itong huling sinampa na kaso sa ombudsman ng civil society groups, gathering all of the substantial evidence of misdeeds, alleged misdeeds by the former education secretary and current vice president.
Well, yung sa flood control projects, yung mga ghost flood control projects, talagang sigurado yan. I mean, there will be convictions there, no? Pero yung mga substandard, that will take time and that's a matter of evidence. So, sigurado may masangkot dyan yung mga ghost. Ang daming ghost eh. daming ghost
Daming
projects.
ghost, pero marami rin sa kanya nagfo-fund ng fireworks this year. Maraming contractor daw nag-fund kaya hindi at least may nakikita ka, may nangyayari, hindi lang ghost projects at saka underground. But are there, what about yung mga senators na hindi ko sinasabi kung safe si Jinggoy ngayon or hindi, but I mean, are we expecting some of the key senators to be facing potential charges here based on the available testimonies and evidence?
Well, I think charges will be filed by the Ombudsman against uh, some of the senators now, but whether because for uh, it to be bailable, the evidence of guilt must be strong, and the penalty, possible penalty is reclusion
Tinaas yung quantum.
perpetua. No, so that one. I don't have a handle on the actual evidence. I cannot say no, but I think they will
Right.
be filed by the ombudsman definitely. But whether it will be non-bailable or not will depend. I cannot say for sure.
Yeah. The reason I'm saying this, Justice, of course, with all the caveats is may mga tao nagsasabi, especially sa middle forces, progressive forces na if, let's say, Senator X, Y, and Z or Congressman X, Y, and Z ay wala doon sa listahan for sure, niluto ito. So therefore, let's go for, I don't know, RevGov or something like that. Because that's the kind of conversation we're hearing right now. It looks like there's already a prejudgment by the public, or at least preempting of the legal adjudication by the ombudsman kung sino dapat sa ampan and all. So that's why I was asking you, like, yes, of course, at the end of the day, there are many details we don't know, but realistically, what should people expect na a certain senators for sure 100% dapat masampahan, or maybe the public should follow the evidence, follow the process, and also details as we move forward?
Well, I think we can expect cases to be filed against the senators, but whether the court will say it's non-bailable or not is I cannot say for sure. No, but cases will be filed maybe January or February. No.
Yun nga, yeah. I mean, again, the reason I'm saying this is because there was expectation na ma-file, hindi na-file as December. Okay, that was unrealistic to begin with. But I'm also wondering if unrealistic din for people to expect for certain senators, including a former ex-Senate president, among others, to face cases, if not for the flood control, for other alleged anomalies. What about the Sara Duterte angle, Justice? February is fast approaching, so at least technically speaking, there could be new impeachment filed against Sara Duterte, and could the ombudsman somehow be involved this time in ways it was not? And what do the new rules of the Supreme Court, barring any motion for reconsideration adjustments, would mean should an impeachment proceed later this year?
Well, the uh, after February 6, a new impeachment complaint can be filed against VP Sara. Uh, but I'm not sure whether there is appetite in Congress to do that now, because they themselves are being investigated for the flood control scam. And the so that one I cannot say for certain that there will be a new impeachment complaint that will be filed, uh, but there will be people who will file, but whether they will get the required one-third vote, I'm not sure.
Yeah, exact. But assuming they get the one-third, di ba under the new rules, dapat parang plenary pa lang sa Kongreso, meron ng
Yeah,
parang
that's the other
semi-trial
thing.
na kaagad. Oo.
That's the other thing because uh, the the House will have a dilemma whether to follow the ruling of the Supreme Court that there must be a hearing at the plenary level because I don't think the House will want to follow that Supreme Court ruling because that will be dictating on uh, controlling the proceedings in the House, no? So, ang mangyari niyan, if they'll get one-third, there's a one-third vote, they will not, the way I look at it, they will not follow the Supreme Court ruling and Sara will go up to the Supreme Court and it will be litigated again. No?
Yeah.
Because I doubt if the House will agree to follow the very strict rules, strict procedures imposed by the Supreme Court, because that's practically killing the impeachment process, no?
Yun nga, obviously it has its complications. Siguro some people are just thinking in terms of politics, considering malapit ng 2028, baka legally speaking, it's unrealistic to expect a conviction, but any kind of trial that exposes anomalies could at least have some accountability effect, or at least nip the Duterte resurgence, at least based on certain numbers and surveys, in the bud. Last part, Justice, to close on this, thank you so much again for joining us. Looking forward to more of this kind of discussions as more details come in. Um, in terms of yung implications ng nangyari sa Venezuela, where do you stand on this debate? Because some people are saying, well, I mean, this is US, this is their backyard. They were always like this since Monroe Doctrine. This is Monroe Doctrine. Some people would say, well, this just shows how capable US is tactically speaking. They're military strong. So buti nga Philippines is an ally with them. And then some people are saying, well, no matter where you stand on this, if you're from a small country or mid-sized country, you should be troubled by one superpower just abducting another leader, no matter how illegitimate or problematic, because that sets a precedence or normalizes similar potential actions by other superpowers in their own so-called backyard. Hence, whether Taiwan, Manila could be one day, target of a similar operation by China, based on mumbo jumbo legal justifications, or who knows? Next thing you know, baka Russia will go for kidnapping, abducting also Zelensky.
Well, uh, the DFA issued a statement, and I agree with that statement that this is very disturbing. This unilateral action by the United States uh, in violating the territorial integrity of a sovereign state, and kidnapping or seizing the head of state. Uh, I think it violates international. Clearly, it violates the UN Charter. No, because you cannot just do that. If you have to go through the UN Security Council, if you want to conduct military, take a military activity, military measure against a sovereign state. No, wala namang Venezuela is not invading the U.S. Is not has not done anything that has not committed armed aggression against the U.S. No, so this is clearly a violation of international law, and my problem here is a nuclear armed state who disregards international law, who says you have you have committed an offense against us, we will take you out. If any country, a nuclear armed country, can do that, China can do that to us, and China will say, "Oh, we will take over Scarborough Shoal, we will take over Skoda Shoal, we will take over Pag-asa, because that is our territory." Its might is right again, and that's against international law. In other words, the the principle behind the UN Charter is all disputes between states must be settled by peaceful means. The use of force or the threat of force is outlawed in the settlement of disputes. So, the U.S. used force here. That's a violation of international law. So, I mean, if the U.S. can do that to Venezuela, China can do it to the Philippines in the South China Sea. So that's why I agree with the DFA in protesting and saying that this is very disturbing, because this is in violation of international law, in violation of the UN Charter. All disputes must be settled by peaceful means. The use of force is outlawed. Even the threat of force is outlawed. This was a use of force. So
There were
yeah,
civilians even killed, port
and if
facilities targeted.
the U.S. can get away with that, China will also do it. Exactly what the problem here is: you have Russia invading Ukraine using force, actual force, and we still don't know how will it end. And, and then you have U.S. using force to to seize a head of state, and you have China using threat of force in the South China Sea against us. So that will mean the collapse of the international legal order. And
Absolutely. And
if these three countries can get away with the use of force against international law, so everybody will do the same.
absolutely. And of course, in fairness to the DFA, unlike some of our friends in Europe, they're not just monitoring the situation. Yan atang safe. We're monitoring the
Yeah,
situation. Meron
yeah,
pa kayong Greek Prime Minister. Let's have the legal debates later on. Yung mga ganun. I mean, that's absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely disappointing coming from countries who are supposed to be the paragons of a rules-based order or pillars.
Kaya tama yung ginawa ng ano. I really applaud the DFA for coming with that. Sabi ng iba, it was not a strong statement. I think it was already a strong statement by saying it violates international law, violates the UN Charter. That's really the core of it. It's a violation of the UN Charter. And we cannot sanction that because we will be at the gagawin ng China sa atin yan eh. We have to
Absolutely.
protest because we cannot allow this to become a precedent to be used by China.
On that note, thank you very much, Justice Carpet. I just have to go to another interview just to discuss that. On that note, thank you very much, Justice Carpet. Ituloy natin in the discussion natin in the coming days. Have a lovely day, and thank you, Justice, for joining us sa latest episode.